Today, we're diving into something every entrepreneur hopes they never have to deal with: what happens when a business partnership ends. It's a super critical process full of specific legal and financial rules that you just have to know. So let's get right into it. So imagine you and your partners have decided to call it a day. You might think it's kind of like a simple breakup, right? A handshake, you go your separate ways, and that's that. But is it really that simple? Well, the reality is a little more complicated. Yeah, not quite. In fact, the very first, most important question you have to ask is this: are you ending the partnership or are you ending the entire firm? They sound almost the same, but legally they are worlds apart. And trust me, you do not want to get this one wrong. Okay, so let's start with that core distinction, because everything else builds on this. We're talking about the difference between dissolving a partnership versus dissolving a firm. Understanding this is absolutely fundamental. First up, let's talk about dissolving a partnership. This just means the existing relationship between the partners has changed. Think of it like a reshuffle. The business itself, the actual firm, doesn't have to end. It can keep right on going, just with a new agreement or a new structure. And dissolving a partnership isn't always a bad thing. It happens all the time for positive reasons, like when you bring a new partner on board, or when someone retires. Of course, it can also be triggered by something like a partner's death, or even just deciding to change up the profit-sharing ratio. In most of these scenarios, the business just keeps chugging along. But then, you have the dissolution of a firm. Now this is the big one. This is when the relationship between all the partners is completely severed. The firm's existence is over. Its business gets totally wound up. The doors are closed for good. This table really lays it out clearly. With a partnership dissolution, the business doesn't stop. You might just revalue some assets, but the books stay open. But when the whole firm dissolves, the business is terminated. Assets get sold off to pay debts, the economic relationship is totally over, and the books of account, they are closed for good. So what would actually cause an entire firm to go under? Let's take a look at the specific things that can trigger a complete and total business breakup. Well, the cleanest way is by mutual agreement. This is when all the partners just get together and decide, you know what, it's time to close up shop. It could also be triggered by a clause that was in your original contract from day one. It's simple and everyone is on the same page. Then there are the times when you don't really have a choice. It's called compulsory dissolution. This can happen if, say, all the partners go broke and can't legally run a business anymore. Or maybe the thing your business does suddenly becomes illegal. The law basically steps in and says, sorry folks, time's up. A firm can also dissolve automatically because of certain events. For instance, maybe you set it up for a fixed period of 5 years. When your 5 hits, poof, it's dissolved. Or maybe it was created for one specific project, and once that project's done, so is the firm. A partner's death could also be a trigger, but only if you wrote that into your original agreement. And finally, things can get messy. Any one partner can actually sue to have the firm dissolved by a court. This means a judge can force the end of the business whether the other partners like it or not. Now, a court won't do this for just any little squabble. The reasons have to be really serious. We're talking about things like a partner becoming legally insane or being permanently unable to do their job, or maybe a partner is guilty of some kind of misconduct that's hurting the business. And a big one, if the business is just losing money hand over fist with no hope of turning it around. Okay, so the firm is officially dissolving. Now comes the question on everyone's mind. What about the money? Who gets paid and in what order? Well, this isn't a free-for-all. There's a strict legal pecking order for settling all the accounts. The rules are spelled out very clearly in the law, specifically Section 48 of the Partnership Act. This whole process is designed to be fair and orderly. All the firm's assets, plus any cash partners might have to chip in to cover losses, get paid out in a very specific sequence. And here is that pecking order. It's so important to get this right. First, before anyone else gets a dime, you pay off all the outside debts. We're talking about your creditors, the bank, your suppliers. They are at the very front of the line. Second, if any partners personally loaned money to the firm, they get paid back next. Third, each partner gets their initial capital investment back. And only then, after all that is settled, if there's anything left over, is it divided up as profit. So how on earth do you manage all this chaos? You're selling assets, you're paying debts, it's a lot. To keep it all orderly, there's a special accounting tool designed for exactly this moment. I mean, seriously, think about it. You're selling off inventory, office furniture, maybe even property. At the same time, you're trying to pay back a dozen different creditors. How do you keep it all straight and figure out if you actually made a profit or a loss on the whole winding down process? The answer is something called a realization account. It's a temporary account that's created for one purpose and one purpose only, to calculate the final net profit or loss from liquidating the entire business. Basically, it works like a final report card for the business. On one side, the debit side, you list all the assets you're selling off and any expenses you have to pay. On the other side, the credit side, you list all the liabilities you have to settle and all the cash you bring in from selling those assets. When you balance the two sides, the number that's left is your final profit or loss, which then gets shared among the partners. So if you take one thing away today, let it be this. Ending a business isn't just about closing the doors. It is a formal, structured, and legally defined process. From knowing whether you're ending the partnership or the whole firm to following that strict pecking order for payments, every single step matters. Which leaves us with a final thought for you. Knowing what you know now, if you were sitting down to draft a partnership agreement today, what's one specific clause you'd absolutely insist on adding about how to handle the end? It's something every single partner should think about right from the beginning. Thanks for joining this explainer.